I usually like to look at lesser played commanders to shine a spotlight on some interesting cards you might not have thought about playing. But today I am going over the most popular commander of the past month according to EDHREC at time of recording. When I saw this card spoiled, I knew it was going to be a very popular commander, and I knew I was also probably going to build it at some point. Witherbloom the Balancer is a 5/5 Elder Dragon that costs 6 black and a green with affinity for creatures, flying, death touch, and instant and sorcery spells you cast have affinity for creatures. Affinity for creatures reduces the cost by 1 generic for each creature you control. This will even work for command attacks as well. Having an 8 cost commander might seem really high, but each creature you have will reduce the cost, and especially if that creature is a mana dork that can also tap for mana. Having 2 mana dorks out and not missing a land drop, you can play Witherbloom on turn 4, which makes this 8 cost commander seem quite playable. Our game plan is to play a bunch of mana dorks to get out our commander, then play heavily discounted big mana instants and sorceries to build up our board to critical mass to close out the game. So our first step is ramp, and as mentioned, our ramp is mana dorks. So all our creatures except 2 are mana dorks. Cram as much 1 cost dorks in, such as Llanowar Elves, Birds of Paradise, Delighted Halfling, and Elvish Mystic. Fill out the rest with 2 cost dorks with additional benefits. Priest of Titania can get extra value with our other elf dorks. Fanatic of Ronus can generate extra mana when our commander is out. Twitching Doll can turn into a bunch of creatures late game after building counters. Our only non-dork creatures are Bitterbloom Bearer to help generate extra creatures for cheap, and Cradlehoof Behemoth is here as a classic finisher for a go-wide strategy. Because of having affinity for creatures, we are taking advantage of higher mana cost draw spells, including those that will draw cards based on power and number of creatures. Rishkar's expertise and Return of the Wild Speaker will draw you cards based on the greatest power creature you have, which will usually be your commander at 5 power. Collective Unconscious and Shamanic Revelation draws you cards equal to the number of creatures you have, which is hopefully a lot and will only cost 2 green usually. Ambition's Cost, Ancient Craving, and Siphon Mind will usually draw you 3 cards for a black if you have a few creatures out. Decorum Dissertation is a new card from Secrets of Strixhaven that will see you exile the spell when you cast it and be able to cast a free copy on each of your subsequent turns. Damnable Pact could see you draw a lot of cards if you have a large board, or it could be also used to finish off a player if they are low enough. Our commander is a key part of our deck, so having some protection is crucial. We are running a bunch of 1 green protection spells like Tamio Safekeeping, Defend the Rider, Snakeskin Veil, and Tyvar Stand. The last one can also be used to pump your commander up to lethal damage if you have a large board. Since all our instants and sorceries have affinity for creatures, we are taking advantage of big X spells to help generate more creatures and also finish the game when we reach a critical mass of creatures. Awaken the Woods, Pest Infestation, Army of the Damned, Azuri's Predation, and Skittering Invasion are our expensive spells to generate a lot of creatures. Skittering Invasion in particular is nice, being completely colorless, so if you have 7 creatures, this spell is free. Arachnogenesis is great instant to protect you from a big swing and also create a bunch of creatures to help fuel your large spells for only a single green in most cases. We are taking advantage of less efficient removal spells since we can discount the cost to get a little extra benefit. Curtain's Call, Pile On, Price of Fame, Sephiroth's Intervention, Overkill, and Withering Torment will usually only cost a black. We are running 2 one-sided board wipes to remove all our opponent's creatures and leave them wide open and make the math a little easier when you swing into the whole table. Plague Wind and In Garrick's Wake will hopefully only cost 2 black and leave you mana open to pump your board for the win. Speaking of mass pump, we are already running Cradlehoof Behemoth, but since we can't reduce its cost, we are running some tutors that can put it onto the battlefield, which can be reduced by our creatures. Chord of Calling and Finale of Devastation are here to fetch Craterhoof onto the field for cheap. Overwhelming Stampede and Preposterous Proportions are our other mass pump spells to finish the game with a large board. For other finishes, we are running Exsanguinate and Torment of Hailfire to either end the game there or bring our opponents low enough to finish with our large board. The strengths of this deck is its explosive potential and having a large board of creatures. Being able to play multiple big mana spells for a discount per turn can generate a great amount of value. One big weakness for this deck is having the commander removed, or having your board wiped. We are playing a pretty aggressive deck that aims to establish a large board quickly and draw a win con to end the game before our opponents can draw too much removal. Since most of our spells are less efficient, we are relying on the discount, and having our commander removed or our board wiped can set us back quite far. In conclusion, Witherbloom is a fun commander that lets you play with your big flashy spells that you might not get to play in many other decks. While winning with a Craterhoof or a Torment of Hailfire is not novel, it is by far the only option to this commander. I've only shown off one way to play it, and I'm sure there are plenty of ways to build this commander and have fun. If you have built it, please let me know your experience with this commander. Please subscribe if you like this content, and feel free to suggest commanders for me to cover. Thank you for watching.